We are at the epicenter of American luxury today. This is truly a dream come true. We are at the Tiffany Landmark Building at 5th Avenue and 57th Street. I'm here today with my friend Christopher Young, who is Vice President and Creative Director for Tiffany Company, as well as the Master of the Archives. Christopher, how many years have we been talking about doing this video about Elsa Peretti?
Years, but the good news is we're here. We're at the Landmark and we're doing it today.
We're here and we are thrilled to mark 50 years of Peretti's first collection with Tiffany. It's incredible, 50 years.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. And what I love about it is we've got, design innovation, we have her contributions to culture, but Elsa Peretti is arguably the most successful jeweler designer of all time.
I know, I love the fact that we can stop calling her a woman designer, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to keep saying the most prolific, the most successful woman. She just was.
Yeah.
She was an amazing force. I'd love to just talk a little bit about her arrival in New York City. Here we are with this incredible backdrop.
Yeah.
She came to New York as a model in the 60s, right?
Yeah, she was very connected to party culture, model. Being a model, she hung out with artists, photographers, and architects, and she loved the creative universe, and she was always at the epicenter of it. So she comes to New York as a model and works with amazing designers like Giorgio de Sant'Angelo and of course the great Halston. And through her connection and through her openness to their processes, she starts introducing designs and starts wearing the designs, and there's no separation between wearing the pieces and designing the pieces and embodying the style of the late 1960s and early 70s.
When you talk to a lot of women designers, especially when you've asked them what their first piece was, they often say their engagement ring. I hear this from designers. They say, well, I needed to make it the way I wanted it. What was Elsa's very first piece that she created for herself?
The first piece of jewelry that I'm aware of is the bottle, and it isn't in the shape that we currently know. She was introduced to this idea of a wearable necklace that you could put a flower in, and she was inspired by the little vial inside a Rolls Royce where you could put like a flower inside it. So she transformed this idea, coming from, of course, a world of luxury and privilege.
Right.
She knew that would be an interesting concept, and she designed it with Giorgio de Sant'Angelo, who was a huge influence in her early part of the career.
But then interestingly, didn't that bottle kind of inspire the perfume design bottle for Halston, right? For his fragrances?
Absolutely. She designed that bottle. She designed all of the fragrance bottles, as well as some of the shapes for the cosmetics as well. And, with Elsa, it was her vision to keep things asymmetrical. It was her vision to have things that felt comfortable in the hand and that were beautiful to work with and to live with. And so, that bottle evolved into that fragrance vessel, but certainly in our bottles collection that we have here at Tiffany.
Yeah, amazing. And so when she joined Tiffany, we're going back to 1974.
Yep.
Walter Hoving, president, brought her in, I guess at Halston's suggestion, from certain reports.
Yeah.
Right?
Carrie Donovan was very involved. Of course, we had Halston, who was present at the meeting as well. The reports I've heard, Elsa brings out a couple pieces of jewelry. By the third one, Hoving said, "Yeah, we'll take you." But she said, No, I've got something else I need to show you. And Hoving said, You're in. Yeah, so it was total synergy. Eleanor Lambert was also a huge component of putting this together. She was such a visionary person, and she also oversaw Tiffany's public relations at that time.
Ah, she did?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And she's Liza Minnelli's one of her godmothers.
Is that right?
Yeah, the other one being Kay Thompson.
Well, we'll get to Liza later. We'll be getting to Liza later.
Yeah.
I do wonder, do you have any idea how many pieces were in the first collection and which of her iconic, we're gonna have to use the word iconic, right?
Yeah.
I know these days everything's iconic, but there are so many Peretti designs from the 70s that are still in production today and doing very well that we have to call icons, like the bottle, like the perfume bottle. But what was in the original collection in 1974 when they opened downstairs?
Well, I know the bean was part of it, certainly the teardrop shape. We're going to see that in the first Tiffany Blue Book that introduces Elsa Peretti, and you see the teardrop as the introduction to Elsa Peretti. Diamonds by the Yard, of course, hugely innovative in the space of diamonds, certainly for Tiffany, but also the way women would wear diamonds from that day forward.
Yeah, I mean, Diamonds by the Yard is so amazing to me because to take something as simple as a round diamond in a gold bezel or platinum, but gold bezel on a simple chain, but somehow own it, make it her own.
Yeah.
This is design, and this is an icon.
That's a concept,
Yeah.
right? Like you have the ownership of how much do you want, how many layers do you want, how dense do you want it, do you want 1, do you want 40? And it really freed up the wearer to self-purchase a diamond necklace for oneself and wear it during the day, which was not previously how people wore diamonds. You wouldn't typically see diamonds worn during the day, but with this new design, we can imagine, for example, a Halston silk blouse with a Diamonds by the Yard necklace, like a sprinkle or something, and it defined a new level of chic.
Yeah, it really did define the woman at the time, I think, for acquiring her own jewelry, not only becoming a self-purchaser, and I know this was important to Peretti, to empower women to acquire their own things. They didn't need a man to buy it for them. But I think she really was instrumental in developing that working woman's style, the woman that wasn't so much wearing kind of a execubo and a suit. She was wearing different clothes to the office. She still wanted to develop a very polished and professional look, but fashionable as well. And Peretti is all about that.
And comfortable. You know, this jewelry is comfortable to wear. This jewelry feels amazing on. I'm told it feels like a second skin when you put these pieces on. People say this all the time.
This does.
Yeah, it looks great on you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks for the loan.
Well, Peretti looks good on men. You know, that's one of the things that she also always embraced. Andre Leontali wore wonderful pieces of Elsa Peretti at that initial party that we had here for her when we launched that collection in 1974.
Well, she's so tied to fashion, not only because of her time as a model and with Halston, but with Tiffany. I just think of some of the great ad campaigns and photographers that shot Peretti jewels on great models.
Only one, Hero.
Right?
And Hero is the one who also photographed that famous ad of the vessel for Halston's fragrance with that white shadow. So Hero, of course, is a reoccurring creative collaborator in Elsa's life. She loved collaborating. You know, you think of a great design, one of the most successful designers of all time, you would think that they're maybe solitary and have their own vision and work on their own. Couldn't be further from the truth with Elsa. She loved collaborating. She loved different people with different skill sets and different perspectives. And with Hero, she defined an entire visual universe that became famous in that ad campaign.
So he was the only photographer that shot her jewelry for Tiffany? I had no idea.
Absolutely.
I had no idea. I think of the ones with the fish, with the goldfish.
That's all Hero.
Right, the teardrops and the incredible, beautiful art those pieces were.
I mean, it's a story in itself, the collaboration between Hero and Elsa. And in that, you see Elsa's roots in surrealism and, of course, her connection to Salvador Dali, modeling for him in the 1960s in Spain. And then you see how that translates in this fabulous campaign that's still very relevant at Tiffany today.
So, Christopher, speaking of fashion photography, we cannot omit the famous photograph of Elsa by Helmut Newton in the bunny costume. Tell me about the story of that photo.
I love that story. You know, it happened at 11 a.m. in the morning on Elsa's terrace, which used to be Halston's apartment. And then it becomes Elsa's apartment. And, you know, Helmut Newton's there to take her portrait. And so she said, I'll be right back. She goes into her bedroom, which is tiny, you know, it's a New York apartment, takes out this costume that Halston had made for her to wear to a soiree, and history was made that morning.
She really was a genius and a visionary. That kind of brings me to her unusual choice of materials as she developed her line.
That's right.
Right? I mean, she really was going in all different directions, using all kinds of organic materials.
Well, that's how she came to Tiffany. You know, we first gave her a world tour to show her how Tiffany could support her vision to experiment in different materials such as silk, lacquer, bamboo. You know, these were materials typically not used for jewelry. And so we wanted to lure her with our ability to realize her dreams.
This has to be considered one of the icons, this amazing lacquer bangle. It's that Japanese hardwood. And tell me about the lacquering process. Like how many, I know it's quite complicated and multi-layered.
It is, and yet at the same time it's so lightweight. What Elsa was drawn to was the fact this was an ancient craft. This was an ancient material with very early roots in the arts of Japan. And Elsa worked with an art scholar named David Kidd, who introduced her through his partner, Morimoto, to various craftsmen in Japan and artisans who continue to work in the ancient tradition of the Japanese arts, such as this one. So you're looking at hand-carved wood with, something like 60 or 70 steps that must occur in the correct sequence for a piece like this to happen. It was not about a conveyor belt type of construction. These are made lovingly by hand.
They're amazing. And when I was working for Tiffany years ago and I was selling these, I always made sure the client bought two because the sound of them together is really beautiful. So you always want to get two when you find a bracelet you love, right?
I think so. There's a beautiful gold version of it. She was able to gild the lacquer, which of course was a very interesting process, only probably seen in temples and in ritual objects. Here, Elsa's taking these materials and translating them into wearable jewelry.
Amazing. Listen, let's head over to the library because I want to talk more about really specific designs and look at some pieces of Peretti jewelry. So why don't we head over? So, Christopher, now we're in the archive. Let's dig in and really talk about the level of importance of these objects. Yes, they're beautiful. Yes, they're wearable, but they're museum worthy in some cases.
That's right. Yeah, and some of the most important institutions in the world have collected Elsa Peretti objects such as these. And of course we recognize that, and yet at the same time we still offer them for sale at Tiffany.
Well, one of my all-time favorites is the equestrian belt. And I can't remember, I don't know what year it was made, but I think it is truly timeless, and it's something that I think everyone should own. Do you know what was the year on that?
I know in 1973, Liza wore one at the Battle of Versailles fashion competition in France, and there are images of her wearing that belt. So it's nice that we have that in our collection as well.
Incredible. Well, you have something else from Liza here on the table.
That's right.
The bone cuff. Liza Minnelli, who I think maybe has most famously worn it, although many people have. But this is not inspired by Liza's cuff. This is not like hers. This is hers. So I'm going to let you handle it with your glove.
Thank you.
And thank you, Liza, for lending your cuff.
Thank you, Liza. She is a dear friend and a friend of the house. And what I love about this is the importance, the historic importance of it, and yet it's still very relevant to the fashion of today and tomorrow. So we're seeing how the bone cuff continues to be an important part of what we do. But this is Liza's. She's worn it at so many occasions.
It's Liza's.
And she loves wearing Elsa Peretti's jewelry. She told me that her first piece of Elsa Peretti jewelry was a birthday gift to her from her father, Vincent Minelli.
Wow. Amazing. And she really kind of, not literally owns this cuff, but she also owns the design as far as her personal style. She wears it all the time. She's been featured on countless magazine covers wearing this bracelet, and it really is part of her.
You see it in music videos, you see her in performances, you see her, at important moments like at the Oscars. When she won her Oscar for Cabaret, she's wearing Elsa Peretti jewelry. So it's very much a big part of her life. Elsa and Liza were very close friends, and at the same time you see that Elsa has helped define Liza's style the way Halston did as well. The three of them were like the three musketeers.
Incredible. Absolutely, like jewelry history.
Yeah, and thank you for that loan. It's so nice to be able to offer historic pieces to our clients as part of the experience. It's just a temporary loan, but we're very pleased and honored to have that treasure in the house today.
Well, I know it's been on view on the main floor for a while, so make sure you stop by and see it if you can, if you're in New York. Let's talk about the mesh bra, which we have on display behind you. Quite a sort of scandalous and groundbreaking object. Again, it's not really jewelry, but what year, do you know what year that was made?
Well, I know that there's an image of model Chris Royer wearing the original gold version in Vogue 1975. Of course, Halston layered it with a chocolate brown chiffon sari because, of course, the mesh is very much inspired by, Indian metal mesh. And so I think it's probably around the 1974, 1975 would have been when it was designed.
Yeah. And then, of course, we just recently saw it, the gold version on Zoe Kravitz on a red carpet, so it still works today.
Oh, it's completely, it's an object in itself. We do consider it an art object, yet it's wearable art. And I think that it also speaks to Elsa's ability to redefine how women wear jewelry. Certainly the symbolism of a bra is not lost on the concept of how important that is, of liberating women, allowing women to buy their own jewelry, wear jewelry in their own means, jewelry that's comfortable, jewelry that's powerful, jewelry that defines icons and legends like Liza.
Incredible, incredible. And now let's take a look at this serpent necklace. Now, the serpent is one of the most used motifs in all of jewelry, right?
Yeah.
It's in ancient jewelry, it's in Victorian jewelry, it's in the 60s and 70s, but Elsa's is a little different.
That's right, and in Elsa's home in San Martín in Spain, there's a small cigar box, and inside the cigar box you can see the small pieces of vertebrae from a snake that she sketched and she studied as she conceived this piece. So she's really studying nature the way a snake absolutely does articulate, and we're seeing that in the construction of this piece. This is technically a belt, but can be worn, of course, as a necklace
too.
And again, it's one of the many timeless designs that our clients are discovering today.
Yeah, it's amazing too to make the skeleton of the snake so beautiful.
Yeah,
right. The form is just beautiful. It's so sensual the way the links are joined, and I think it just really traces back to her love of nature and her kind of obsession with this type of form. Even with the bone, when you look at the home collection, so many pieces based on the bones. I read something where she was sort of obsessed even from childhood, bringing home bones that she found, and this was something that really inspired her.
That's right. She was always inquisitive, always exploratory. The Cabochon crypts, which had bones for her to, as she's discovering them as a little girl. And yet she's also very much looking at the work of Gaudí, living in Spain, studying the organic twists and turns of architectural innovation, and she's taking and synthesizing it into objects for their home as well as jewelry. It's super fascinating to see her design genius at work.
It really is, to see the same motifs translate so beautifully into the home collection and become vessels and candlesticks and flatware. The flatware is absolutely beautiful, and all available downstairs. The salon is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
This also reminds me of the scorpion necklace, which is so magnificent and truly just looks like the skeleton of a scorpion reassembled as a necklace.
Well, it really is. I mean, in San Martín, in her home in Spain, she has this glass vial where she kept the original scorpion that she studied when she was designing that piece. Again, obsessed with nature, studying nature, yet not literally translating it like so many others do, but she translates it in her own visual language, in her own way that's so recognizable as her aesthetic.
And now for the 50th anniversary of her joining Tiffany, you have sort of reinterpreted the scorpion necklace, right?
Yes, Elsa was very much involved with this idea. We created a diamond pave version that is in celebration of her 50 years at Tiffany, and we have that here today to share with you. It's a really beautiful articulation of that idea of a scorpion. Elsa, who was very obsessed with the zodiac and with astrological symbols and meaning, you're seeing this come to life in precious metals and diamonds.
Absolutely gorgeous. Was she a Scorpio? So, Christopher, now we've talked about her earliest time in New York and her beginnings with Tiffany. We've talked about some of the truly iconic objects that she created. I'd love to go in the other room now and have a little conversation about the future of Peretti at Tiffany, her legacy, and what's going to happen throughout the 21st century.
Let's do it. There's so much to discuss.
So, Christopher, let's talk a little bit about Elsa's legacy and Elsa beyond, right, in the 21st century.
That's right.
Of course, the designs are iconic. We have to keep saying iconic, but let's look at some new references on some of the classics. What do you have here? Well,
in celebration of Elsa's 50 years at Tiffany, we've introduced some new versions of these icons that Elsa played a big role in. I have to go straight to this bone cuff that has this spectacular blue tourmaline.
I can see it from here. It's unbelievable.
It is nearly 70 carats.
Wow.
And as you see the sensuality of that stone, the fact that it's, hand set in such an organic, dynamic way is very much in keeping of the spirit of this original design, but it offers our clients something new to discover as we look forward in Elsa of the future.
And I love this, again, this sort of iconic, almost everyday piece now having such an important stone, right?
Oh.
A 70 carat stone like this,
Yeah.
maintaining that teardrop shape,
Yeah.
perfectly positioned on the wrist bone. It's magical design, and it's so perfectly organically formed in harmony with the stone. This is an incredible piece of jewelry.
Elsa loved stones, she loved color, and she loved how pieces felt when she'd wear them. It took her a long time to design each of these icons because she liked to wear them and she'd feel them.
Yeah.
And sometimes her artisans or jewelers would say that Elsa sees with her hands because she would feel the piece constantly and ensure that she liked how it felt before she said the design was ready. I think that certainly applies to this tourmaline piece.
So, Christopher, you also have other iterations of the bone cuff with different stones and with pave diamonds, I think, right?
That's right. In celebration of Elsa's 50 years at Tiffany, we've also introduced this beautiful diamond pave version of the bone cuff.
Gorgeous.
And then we also have the ruby.
Beautiful.
Which is really beautiful.
Beautiful with the rubies.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, that's stunning.
Elsa, of course, loved color. She loved a sort of minimal introduction of the gemstone in a very intentional way. And here, of course, it's highlighting the ulna, which is part of the whole design concept of the bone cuff.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What a beautiful variety of pieces. So let's now look at another icon, the open heart. I remember my time at Tiffany selling so many of the sterling silver open hearts to young ladies for, bar mitzvahs or 16th birthdays. And I think it's an amazing thing to think that then you could maybe graduate to a gold one in your 20s, and then here you have now full pave rubies.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's one of the, once you see the design, and that's why it really is a masterful design because it stands the test of time. You can imagine different gemstones and different precious metals, but here with ruby, I think it's really coming alive and expressing something new. So this is a new offering as well as the brooch in diamond pave, and we're seeing also as men are discovering these pieces.
Come on.
They wear them beautifully, as you could too.
Come on.
Wearing your heart on your sleeve if you'd like to.
That might be my next one. That is perfect.
Yeah, but it has the perfect embodiment of everything Elsa. Minimal, yet very, very sensuous and evocative of this unique spirit that she brought to the world of design.
Again, how do you take something as ubiquitous as a heart motif and make it your own? This is only could be Elsa Peretti.
Well, she came up with a shape in the negative space of a Henry Moore sculpture, and that's where reportedly that shape comes from. But now we're looking at it as we continue to offer this design. We're looking at a different typology such as this one. It takes on a life of its own.
Absolutely, yeah, it really is a work of art. I love this. And then the last piece I have to look at is the wonderful Cabochon ring, which I've always loved.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Peretti pieces because it's the most, so many jewelers say that they start with the stone and then work around the stone, but this ring really looks like that. So it's meant for a Cabochon stone.
That's right.
And it's so organic and sculptural and freeform. I just love it.
And it's a magnificent stone. I mean, this is the beauty of Elsa Peretti at Tiffany, our ability to source spectacular gemstones, Elsa's designs which house them and contextualize them. I think this is a perfect balance of design innovation and superb gemstones that only Tiffany can offer.
Yeah, that is an absolutely wonderful sapphire. Absolutely gorgeous. Really, this is a wonderful piece to end our conversation. It truly is perfect in form. It is such a beautiful stone, and I love the mounting. It's so Peretti. I thank you, Christopher, for your time and your expertise. This has been wonderful. And if you're in New York City, you cannot miss the landmark building. This is really the epicenter of American luxury. We are privileged to be here on the 10th floor, and the Peretti Salon is not to be missed. So thank you again, and I hope you have me back so we can talk about Schlumberger next time.
Oh, I've got some very good Jean Schlumberger stories, certainly that tie to Elsa, so much more to come.
I'll hold you to it. Thank you.